Welcome everyone to the quarterfinal. With me here today for commentary is Timpani himself. How are you doing, Timpani?
I am good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very excited about matches. Actually, I think they're going to be exciting. Lots of stuff to see here. Joining us here for this match, Stravos, who currently has the Legacy World Peace record. It's actually pending as we speak, but it will. Stravos, how do you feel?
Pretty good. I've been practicing World Peace a lot lately, so I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I'm just excited for the tournaments because I like tournaments.
Indeed, I really enjoy the competitive element of them. I believe your time was a 1:16:20, something like that.
Yeah, 23.
23. So, I mean, that is a pretty commendable time. Is there anything in this particular run that still makes you nervous?
There's a couple things that I've messed up in the races so far. So for anyone who's been watching my races, will have kind of an idea on the things I tend to mess up. But I think I've figured them out. I think I've solved my issues now, so I'm pretty happy.
Yep, and moving over to your competitor here, we have Bayleef with us as well, who was a former world record holder of the other category in World Peace, which is the current bracket. Bayleef, see you are practicing the new FMS here. How do you feel about this particular trick?
I'm not sure how I want to go about it. I think I'm gonna take the safe route with it. Definitely not gonna take this, and I'm gonna get that extra cappy height in the water. Just the right spot since I'm not used to it.
Would this be the most nerve or anything else that you're
That's gonna be the only part of the run. When I was doing Darker Side, the clips are just so easy compared to 1.2.
Yes, most certainly. So that being said, best of luck to the both of you. I think we're almost ready to get started here. I'll just double check with the producer, but it's definitely shaping up to be a very good race. I'm very excited. So yeah, if you guys want to leave the call whenever you're ready, we will count you down in the Discord.
Okay.
And we'll be good to go.
Yeah, thanks. Good luck, Bayleef.
Look, Stravos.
Good luck both of you.
Good luck to both of these runners. Now, Timpani, I think this is going to be an incredibly close one. Do you have any predictions?
I'm not sure because I haven't actually watched Stravos play much. He's just got the legacy record, but I've not actually watched him. I don't know how consistent he is. I just know apparently from his own word he's been putting in the time. So I assume that from that word I expect him to put on a good show. I mean, I've watched a lot of Bayleef, so I know he's consistent, and I believe that a lot of the World Peace route is not super similar, but doing all the things that you need for World Peace you do in the first half of Dark Side. So I believe he's going to be very familiar with all that stuff as well.
Indeed, a lot of like the boss tech, and even some of the movement is very similar in World Peace. But the same could also be said about any percent as well. Like half of the kingdoms come across the exact same way as they do in any percent. Of course, Stravos is a very solid, very risky player, but he's also proven to be very clutch when it comes to race situations. So we really could see this go either way. I think that Stravos might only have a shortcoming if for some reason he kind of messes up big as a result of going for some of the riskier things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I think both of them could honestly, it could go either way. So it should be interesting. I'm hoping that. I mean, if Stravos is. I mean, all right. So I saw him mention when he was talking about getting the time that he did mess some things up. So I don't know. He might have more potential than he's letting on.
Indeed, it's hard to tell, especially without that world record video.
Yeah, exactly.
To prove it. So we will just have to see. But again, Bayleef cannot be understated. I think that he does really well in playing the way that he knows how to play in order to get good times that way. Even if he's losing maybe half a second or a second here and there, he's always 100% on top of the things that he does know how to do.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the big thing for races as well. If you're super consistent, it's going to help a lot.
Yes, absolutely. All right, these racers are just queuing up here. We are both of these racers here are going to be playing on 1.0, which is a very important feature to kind of note here. Last race Bayleef did, he played on 1.2. It's kind of his preferred version, being the darker side world record holder. But 1.0 means that they will both be doing FMS and they will both be doing the sewer clip, most likely.
Right.
All right. I think that these quarterfinal matches, all of them look very, very promising as far as matchups are concerned.
Yeah, I agree.
I can tell a lot of these runners have actually put in some considerable time into world peace lately. We've seen the world record on the legacy side change hands quite a bit between everybody in the top part of the bracket, actually. And we can actually say the same about the other side. We could say the same about the current bracket as well.
It looks like they're actually off now.
Yes, and of course, the beginning of the race, it'll just take a moment to sync everything up a little bit, just so that it's easier to view. But we really could see anything here. I know that Stravos in the past has had trouble with clips. That's kind of been his major hang-up, especially the IP clip.
Actually, with him going back to the quarterfinals, since we're in cap at the moment, how are you feeling about your quarterfinal match?
That's an interesting question. I think that Rhea is a very outstanding competitor. He's kind of like a silent sleeper. You know, he's definitely the kind of runner who is incredibly humble, extremely low key. He doesn't really talk about or gloat about his accomplishments very much, but he's not to be taken lightly at the same time. He's a very, very strong runner of this game. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. But at the same time, he's not entirely versed in world peace as well. I know he's been doing a little bit of practice lately, but it's still not his strongest category. So I might be able to have the edge just on those particular sections of it. And I suppose the same question goes to you. How do you feel about your upcoming match?
Well, Sui. That's an interesting one as well, because I'm not sure. I haven't really watched Sui do world peace. I just kind of know that he's PBing a lot still, and he's already in the 117 territory. So that's a bit worrisome. Should be. I'm excited because I don't think I've ever actually raced against Sui, so that should be interesting. I don't think I've ever really got the chance to talk to him about it, but looks like both caps went decently well, no real big mistakes.
Looks like we're leaving about the same time. It looks like we're still kind of fixing some syncing issues, but aside from that, Stravos looks like he's coming out of cap just slightly earlier. I didn't see how the left sides went there, actually, but... Yeah, as we approach Cascade, of course, the very first chokehold point of the run here coming up. This new strategy for the first moon skip being developed very recently here. We were curious whether or not it was actually any faster, but eventually we did find out that one particular setup is indeed faster, and Stravos here nailing it on the first try. And Bayleef following suit.
He's going to be really happy about that.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
That's he was saying that he was going to go for the safer one, and it's probably paid off that he did.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, as we approach Madame Brutal here, very simple tech, of course. We've all kind of figured out the ins and outs of this fight. It's not very difficult anymore. I've always noticed that Bayleef kind of goes for a weird camera.
I have mentioned this to him on his stream when watching him. I'm like, it gives me anxiety somewhat that he puts to the side. It freaks me out, but I mean, it works for him, so it doesn't make a difference, obviously.
It's just kind of interesting. Kind of interesting to see that people have those like weird little quirks that sometimes like just, you know, it doesn't make any logistical sense, but it's just all personal flavor, basically.
I think it's more interesting that I think he's the only one I've ever seen change the camera for that fight.
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen anyone else do it.
I've seen some unique stuff being done during that fight, but never quite that unique, I suppose.
I kind of like it at the same time.
Even if it does make it a little bit harder. In my mind, it would, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, whatever works.
Yeah, and it certainly is working. We are heading on to the rest of Cascade Kingdom here. It'll be interesting. I'm not sure if Bayleef has practiced the chess clip very much.
Yeah, that's a point. It is optimal in Darker Side to do the chess clip, to not do this moon layer.
That's right. And I think we've kind of figured out that if you can pull off the chest clip... Ooh, Bayleef getting it there. Yeah. Going slightly in the wrong direction, but definitely being able to save some time. I think we found out that in every category, if you're on 1.2, taking that moon instead of the cliff moon is actually faster if you pull off the clip properly.
Yeah, it has to be a good clip.
Yes, you have to do the setup quickly as well, I imagine.
Yeah. I do go for it just for practice myself.
And it is really early in the run, too. I mean, if something goes catastrophically wrong, you're only 5 minutes in the hole, so it's not too bad to reset. Now, something to be noted from Bayleef's last race, he was actually still doing the slightly outdated route in the Sand Kingdom. Yes, going up to the Dune Moon, doing all of the Inside a Rock is a Hard Place, doing all of that during the daytime, and then going to the hole during the nighttime. I'm not sure if he's updated his route since then, but this could give Stravos a little bit of a competitive advantage if everything goes smoothly for him. We'll have to see.
I have not seen him practicing World Peace, so I'm probably going to assume that he is going to stick with what he knows. But, I mean, could be interesting. I mean, he did go for the new FMS. So.
It's true. There's definitely some commitment put into, you know, being able to win these races with some new tricks and like saving time in places that he didn't have before. So we'll have to see. It looks like he is going to approach the Dune Moon here. So going for the older route, the more comfortable route for sure.
Ooh, Stravos going for the Ice Dram.
Very stylish. Actually, you know what? That can be said about both of these racers, actually. I think a lot of their practice is done for World Peace in secret, you could say. They're not very public about running World Peace, but obviously they're doing some work because they're still popping out really good times.
Stravos nailing the dram into the checkpoint.
Indeed, I love that strategy a lot.
And yeah, Bayleef heading over to block is a hard place. Inside a block is a hard place. I got there in the end.
took a couple blocks, but we got there.
Oh, Stravos is already in on IP, so I guess
just like that. No struggles on the clip at all. That's crazy. And so we are going to see a disparity here, but Stravos, to just remind you guys, did go for a route that does a little bit less daytime sand activity. So while it looks like he's really, really far ahead now, it'll all kind of balance itself out once we get back in the nighttime portions.
And yeah, let's try as well. Because the door on 1.0 practically doesn't exist.
Indeed, yeah. Mentioning that as well. That like butter, smooth like butter, basically, to just get into the wall. So a very solid showing so far. There's no real mistakes to really comment on, and I think that we're going to start to see some very tight races from this point in the tournament onwards.
Yeah, I agree. I think most people left have really solid times in the category now. It's you, me, Stravos, Oddme, Sui, Lil Curbs, Rail.
Yeah, it's more or less the top 5 from the legacy bracket and the top 3 from the current bracket, I believe. There. Stravos finishing off Harriet very nicely, very easily.
Yeah. As well.
Yeah, and there is a way to manipulate those for anybody who's not familiar. These small boss optimizations everywhere that, you know, from the surface, you just look at the boss fight, hit the bombs back when I need to, and that's it. But through trial and error, I imagine, over and over, like standing in specific places and even facing a specific direction forces Harriet to make less hops than usual.
It's very bizarre in a way.
Yeah,
really,
definitely.
I guess it's just... I guess she has to be... if I had to guess, as not spitting this as a fact, it would probably be something to do with just how she needs to be so certain positioned, I don't know, specifically at a point from Mario or something. But I also don't know.
Whether it's like distance based or because like I've noticed in the Bowser refight actually that you can stand in the same place but look in different directions, and that is what actually triggers the whether it works or not. It's kind of weird.
So Stravos is doing the moons that Bayleef did during the day because he got a checkpoint to walk straight here.
That's right.
The difference obviously for Bayleef is because he's already done them, he can just pretty much head straight to the hole.
Yes, and Stravos taking advantage of a moon here that actually doesn't appear during the daytime, and that's this Bullet Bill breakthrough moon in a cage, doing some nifty Bullet Bill juggling strategies, and then heading directly over to this luggage moon over here before he enters the hole during the nighttime. And it's actually going to be very close. You can see that they're just approaching the hole at the same time, almost. Stravos with a little bit of an edge.
However, Bayleef has to get the chest due to being one moon below.
Oh yes, that's right. Another little tweak.
Yeah, Bayleef's route doesn't get luggage or the cage, as you mentioned, but he does get the dune as a replacement, I would assume, for luggage.
That's right, yes.
Or vice versa.
And there was, before everybody started doing this jam strat, there was kind of like an additional tweak to the route that Bayleef is doing, and that's just swapping the upcoming chest moon for luggage during the daytime.
Yes.
But I don't think Bayleef added that to his route.
Yes, so the reason we actually got chest beforehand was because we weren't aware of a little trick with the Bullet Bill where if you actually let go of the Y button to dash, you actually accelerate past the max speed of dashing. So you can actually make it across the entire chasm with just the one Bullet Bill, which makes it a lot faster than taking the detour for this chest hit, which as in turn makes this moon a lot slower.
Yes, indeed. And we did see Stravos pull that off. And before, it was originally not possible to make it across the entire chasm with the one Bullet Bill. You'd have to stop in the middle, and that's why it was so slow.
So no real mistakes, honestly, on either end here, which is pretty impressive because sand, I know, is probably one of the harder parts of the new World Peace route.
Yes, definitely one of the hang-up points of the run, especially with Stravos doing the new route. Sometimes that can be enough to kind of trip you up a little bit. We're about one Knucklotech phase apart from one another here, it looks like. Stravos just dealing with the last one.
However, Bayleef is up to 2 purple points. Unfortunately, that's not going to help him in this race, but
you can trade your purple coins. Trade your purple coins in at the end for extra time save. It's kind of interesting to see, like, some kingdoms you actually just collect purple coins by accident along.
I think typically if I get any extra any purples in the sand, it's probably the 2 that are flowing past the Goomba stack moon or something.
Yes, I think that's probably right.
I don't actually didn't actually catch which purples he actually picked up.
I couldn't imagine it being any of the other ones.
Yeah, I can't think of any. Oh, actually, no, I have no idea.
Gotta like enter into like AUM muscle memory there or something to figure out where the purples would be, but yeah, again, like really, really clean. I think that the difference between them here is that Stravos had a cleaner cap, and also he went for the new route, and neither of them made mistakes in sand. They both got clip on the first try. Like, all of the time difference between these two right now is just those two things alone, which is incredible to see because, you know, this new route, we've been talking about how much time it actually saves, and just, you know, the number is one thing, but seeing the comparison here is another, and like Stravos has definitely taken a little bit of an edge as far as the routing is concerned here. So
what's interesting about Lake now, I think Lake has become, even though it hasn't technically changed, Lake is sort of more interesting to me now in World Peace because I believe they're looking into, in any percent, using a clip and just skipping Rango. So that actually makes the World Peace route different to any percent. Because it used to be, or it still is kind of, at the moment, the same. Because most any percent runners at the moment will beat Rango. So it's the same.
yeah, that particular lake clip is still kind of in an area where it's not really figured out by everybody yet. So we're still in a phase where it's not really RTA viable. Only people crazy enough like Stravos are actually going for it in runs.
Actually, Stravos in this race.
Yeah. Now, if we were to see him do it in a race, I'd be very surprised. But again, this is World Peace. The whole idea behind the lake clip is to skip the boss fight entirely. It's, you know, all the multi-moons, while it's 3 moons a piece, the boss fights are kind of slow. So by canceling that out and going for 3 quicker moons, I think the route saves like 6 or 7 seconds if done properly.
I imagine it's probably significant enough if Stravos is going for it already. I feel like that's But then again, I'm not the most well-versed in 80%, I'll be the first to admit. Or at least the most recent 80% changes.
Yeah, I'm kind of like a distant bystander when it comes to a lot of that. I like to keep up with some of the movement tech that I'm able to use myself, but as far as actual any percent routing goes, it's kind of outside of my realm for the time.
Right.
But Stravos is kind of notoriously one of those runners that will try and things, even if it is kind of detrimental to him at the beginning and he has to reset a lot. Like, he kind of throws himself at it on purpose to make it like easier for him in the future, so that he's kind of like one step ahead when it does become an RTA viable thing.
Yeah, I definitely respect that. I have done that with a few things. It is mentally draining, I imagine, though, as well, to just lose runs to something that you know you don't technically have to do to PB.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's worth it in the long run.
And I mean, any percent in Super Mario Odyssey is kind of a unique case because we're looking at a game that is only a year old, but it's probably one of the most optimized categories in any game ever, just because of how much attention has been put into it. It's kind of the cool thing about tournaments in general, actually. It's like, you were mentioning you've never really got to race Suisaiga before. I feel like this community is so big that there's actually different corners of it and different groups of people within it that don't necessarily get to always communicate and talk with each other, but when it comes to a tournament, you get to bring them all together, and it's kind of a fascinating thing.
Yeah. So now they're going into Wooded, which... How do you feel about Wooded?
Oh boy. This is my favorite reset kingdom in the route. Yeah, there's two. Well, especially the beginning portion. The beginning portion is probably my downfall in this route.
I actually imagine Stravos is about to give us a potential reset point here in a run.
Yes.
Using the nut clip to go. Oh,
he actually missed the clip.
did not get the nut crit. I know that Bayleef is not a fan of moon crits, so we might not actually see it in this race.
Yes, we might just skip it altogether.
Yeah, I believe that he likely will, but of course, I know based on me trying to convince him to do it, he does not like it.
Yes, and I think that just falls into the whole safe strategy mentality. It is a very risky trick, and if you miss it, the reward, is only 7 seconds in this category versus falling into the deep woods and definitely causing a reset.
So, as you can see, Bayleef here opening the gate, watching this animation. Now he's going out here to capture the uproot and stretch up to the nut moon above. You can actually skip all that by doing some finicky out-of-bounds movement, which looks quite cool and is very scary because a fail would result in a deep woods drop.
Yes, and in a race setting like this, you have to find your way out of the deep woods. You have to kind of pick yourself up from wherever it drops you, and yeah, you're gonna be losing a lot of time here. So
Stravos getting Flower Road skip, doing a nice roll cancel jump actually. That's a bit
very stylish.
Oh, and the instant up. Very.
He makes it look easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the tech things that I still haven't really mastered is those roll cancel jumps.
That was a very nice sequence of movement. Just pretty much nailed everything.
Yes, very smooth.
The tower skip. We didn't even get to talk about tower skip. He was just already up there.
Just appeared there. I mean, I suppose we can follow a Bayleef through this as well. He's going to be attempting it himself. The scary thing about this particular section is that not only do you have to do Flower Road skip, but you also have to do tower skip, and any fail here means that you have to do Flower Road skip again, essentially. So you're just hanging above death this entire portion here.
So normally you would go into the tower and get the 2 moons inside. Oh,
that was risky.
So normally you would go into the tower and collect the 2 moons inside and then finish with Spear or a final 3 80% moons that do also avoid Spear. Regardless, in World Peace, because we're getting 4 extra story moons, we just don't need them.
Yeah, we're looking at the 4 fastest moons aside from the story moons. That is kind of the facet of this category, you could say, is that we're working around the story moons. So we go about just picking the fastest ones, or the fastest non-story moons that are kind of in the way. And that's why these runners are not really bothering with coins, actually, is because any percent has 2 shop moons in the route, but they're actually too slow for World Peace, so they get routed out completely.
I'm curious if Stravos will attempt to rocket Flower Reef. Oh, well.
Well, that's going to be a note from me, dog. A little bit of commentators curse there, perhaps. Just taking a bonk on the railing. Unfortunately, that means you lose your flowers, but there is a very cool strat that you can do there. Very, very difficult to pull off and maneuver, but if you refresh your rocket flowers while you collect that moon, it's possible that you can use them to run all the way up to this particular section here.
Yeah, and I think it stays at least a few seconds.
It has to, yeah, because the alternative is just wall jumping up and running the slow way up, so... We're going to see Bayleef run up here. I don't think he's going to attempt the rocket flower refresh. Yeah, just opting for the safe one.
But he will save the time from not bonking, which is
That's very true. And each bonk in this game is about 2 seconds, I think?
Yes, I believe it's 2 seconds. I think there was a time where I actually just kind of bonked and timed the recovery period. I believe it was pretty much dead on 2 seconds.
Ah, there you go. And then, of course, that doesn't factor into things like if you bonk and you have to fall off a ledge or something, but...
It's just a flat bonk.
Yeah, regaining your momentum from just a regular bonk on the wall or something.
So this is one of my favorite bosses.
Oh, yeah?
Very sarcastically say that. So this boss is notorious for me in that I have somehow managed to find a way to break the game by falling through the floor.
That's right. I don't know what you did. I don't think anybody knows what you did. But it certainly happened, and it was very strange. I think the only time I've seen it recreated is when Headphone Mage did it the other day.
Yes.
And he actually did it in this fight, whereas it happened to you in the refight.
Yeah.
Very notoriously in a AUM run, which is like 2.5 hours into the run, this particular failure would have happened. But I mean,
not much to say about Torque Drift as a. He just kind of. Honestly, if you play this boss casually, you sit on the blocks as this laser phase happens. Speedrun saying land the up route on the mound that he spawns from in a certain way, he actually goes a little bit faster.
Yes,
So-
it removes like a buffer in his jump. So usually when you see him land, he'll kind of like stagger for a second before he continues running. But we can actually manipulate the game to cancel that, and he'll just keep running after he lands, which actually makes this boss fight easier, believe it or not.
Actually, you should see here Bayleef actually using the blocks, but he is still moving, so he's still keeping the fast speed.
Yes, and that is the key to this speedy nut boy, is just making sure that his legs are always moving in order for the trick to remain active.
But yeah, it looks like both get through with no real problems. I think the only real problems you can have with this boss are if you accidentally stretch a little too early and you just go straight up through the blocks, which is just very awkward. But outside of that, not much to really go wrong in that fight. Neither of them having any trouble, fortunately.
Indeed, and we've only seen some minor hiccups here.
Yeah, I think the closest thing to a big hiccup in this race so far is Bayleef almost falling off the tower, but landing in a very fortuitous spot.
Indeed, yeah. That could have been more costly than it was, that's for sure. Stravos, in peak condition, I would say. I think the only thing I've seen him not do well is he took a bonk. That's about it. That's all we've seen. Very solid form so far. And now Cloud Kingdom, which is the hardest kingdom in the run.
Well...
It'll be interesting to see. Okay, Stravos taking it easy there. I'm still not familiar with like which runners decide to go for that cloud boost strat, that really risky looking one.
I would imagine maybe if it wasn't a race, he might have gone for it.
True, yeah.
It's hard to say. Maybe he doesn't. I mean, it looks really insane.
Yes, and for those who haven't seen that particular strat, instead of just like kind of climbing across the clouds very calmly, you kind of trigger one of the cloud platforms as you're as you're passing it, so that when it activates, it like boosts you forward. I've seen a couple of runs with people who don't really know how the cloud platforms work, and they'll accidentally hit one and it'll boost them off the edge or something like that. It's happened to me a couple times, I have to say. It looks hilarious, by the way.
It is very funny. It has happened to me in Cloud 2 in AUM actually before. So 7 hours in, and all you can really do is laugh.
Yes, because it is really silly, especially if you go off the side. He just like shoots directly away, and you're just like, oh well, I guess that happened.
So Stravos is done with Cloud. I saw Bayleef miss actually the. So I'm having a little bit of trouble actually with Bowser right now.
See, I've watched Bayleef do this fight, and I actually don't really agree with his setup for getting these hats, because he doesn't do the backflip strategy that everybody else does. He kind of like always intentionally takes damage and then does a double jump on the inside of the hat, which makes the timing a little bit harder in my opinion.
Again, I feel like, I mean, maybe it is a little bit hard. I've never tried it, but I imagine for... I mean, in this instance, it clearly didn't work very well, but I don't see him mess it up very often. It could just be a bit of bad luck.
Indeed. Could be race nerves, you never know. And now we are in Lost, yes. And I think that this is actually perhaps one of the hardest kingdoms in the run. But we've gotten to a point at any percent in World Peace that I think that everybody has it down by now.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see Stravos shooting through it, as it is basically any percent.
Yeah, the one thing about this kingdom too that I think that everybody does so well with it is that you either get it right or you get it horribly wrong. Yeah, so we've all kind of gotten used to just doing it right, or else, you know, bad things happen here.
I mean, yeah, which makes sense obviously, because any wrong mistake is going to be huge because it's usually a death.
Yeah, that purple goop is unforgiving, that's for sure. Funny enough, you can actually, if you are lucky enough and you get the frame before you hit the poison, you could technically warp away from it, which is an interesting little trick.
That's one of my party tricks in Talkative runs. But Stravos having a very nice loss. Don't think I saw really. I think I saw maybe he had a very minor piece of trouble getting the moon in the stairs, but it was very, very slight. Bayleef doing something quite interesting there.
Just interesting little. Yeah, I've never seen that.
He might have. That might have been darker side muscle memory.
If I had to guess, yes, because that is where he would go.
Yeah. I don't think it cost him too much, but.
Yeah, a couple seconds, and then he doesn't have to worry about any sort of triple cage jump maneuvers or anything. You can just jump straight across here. Now, Metro is one of my favorite kingdoms in World Peace.
I agree. Actually, I think I just like Metro in any run. I think I don't think there's a category where I don't like it. Actually, going back again, maybe Talkative, but outside of that, I think it's just a fun kingdom. There aren't really any. All the sub areas are fun.
With the exception of bullet building, maybe.
I like bullet building. Personally, anyway.
Yeah, I feel there's like some interesting technical problems that happen in that room sometimes, but the concept is fun.
Stravos slipping up a little bit, getting into the door, but very minor, no bonks or anything. Just some slippery movement.
Just a little spaghetti. Ooh.
Oh,
now see, that's weird. I've had that happen to me before. Basically what happened there is he threw his cap and accidentally pressed the jump button as it was returning to him, thus resulting in a rainbow spin as he was trying to just do a bunch of wall jumps.
Yeah.
It's kind of silly and it really kind of sucks, but luckily there's a platform underneath you to catch you there, so it's not a big deal.
That fly that
just popped by Stravos?
It's I have that happen to me quite often, and I'm always scared, but I've never had it actually hit me. I don't know if it actually can.
I don't know. I'm kind of worried about it myself too, but no casualties yet.
I hope that doesn't. I hope that continues with no casualties since Bayleef's going into City Hall now.
Indeed, we might have just jinxed it, but let's hope not.
So Stravos hugging the walls for Mecha Wiggler so that Mecha Wiggler comes in and out of the charge phase faster.
Indeed, he's taking the shortest path basically from one wall to the next.
Bayleef just barely making it onto the platform there. It's quite scary. I thought he was
very
going to
close. Very close timing.
But, cleaner climb from Bayleef just because of none of the rainbow spin shenanigans.
Indeed, and Stravos here having a very, very solid Mecha Wiggler fight. Got a very solid pattern. The last couple of globes that he had to hit just crossed right over each other, and he was able to finish it before Wiggler even stopped moving, which is as optimal as you can get, basically.
Hopefully, Bayleef gets a nice and easy pattern himself.
And this is probably tied for my least favorite boss in the game.
Oh? What's the tie with?
I'm pretty sure you could take a guess.
Cockatiel?
Oh, yeah.
I know you like Mollusk, so
I do.
I'm okay with Mollusk myself.
He's definitely frustrating if you don't know what he's doing, but it's a very satisfying fight to pull off once you do know what he's doing.
So Stravos going into Day Metro now, which is where we get to collect some musicians and have a festival.
And yeah, definitely one of the most exciting portions of the game in general. I do really enjoy the festival. Also, hoping that these runners are singing along to the festival because the run will be invalid if they choose not to. So, just a very important point there.
So Stravos is actually getting trash. This is actually a more recent change.
Indeed.
Actually, as opposed to any percent, instead of going from trash to bench friends is actually too slow for world peace. Unfortunately.
That's right. And kind of ties into like how fast the moons in this category actually are. It's 15 minutes slower because you have to do all the story stuff, but all of the extra moons are extremely fast as a result. And bench friends, even though it's like 12 seconds for that moon, it just barely misses the cut to some of the other moons in the route. And that goes for 1.0 and 1.2 actually.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, we will not be bringing happiness to bench friend. Can we really call this world peace?
I am very much on team bring back bench friend. But I will reluctantly continue to do the route without him.
I feel like there might be it might be one of those things that it's like track 46 in Darker Side.
Bayleef getting the backup for scoop clip really quick.
Yes, very solid backup actually. Usually if I don't get that first drive by, I'm pretty triggered and it takes me quite a while to get the clip to work.
Yes, I'm in the same boat actually. So what surprises me here actually is Bayleef knows the newer change to Metro, but obviously we saw him do the old sand route.
Perhaps, I think that maybe the reason for that is just that the day Metro route is very similar. The only change is just like one moon. You're kind of going out of the way, whereas the Sandry route is drastically different.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You're doing quite a bit more during the night portion. You're doing some bullet bill juggling, which is not really a strategy used in any other category for any reason. So it probably requires a little bit more attention.
Yeah, I can understand that actually. Scary trumpet to jump by Stravos. I've never seen anyone climb it that way, but maybe I just don't watch enough World Peace. Apparently.
Usually, I go the way of the purple coins.
I go towards the hint art, but what I'll do is I will cap return jump or something. Right. No, I don't remember because it's different with Darker Side because you actually have to look at the hint art here.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's what I would do there. What Bayleef just did with the cap return into the wall jump.
Yes,
but I think first try to a clip by Stravos.
I would argue that this is probably the hardest clip in the game, even on 1.0. So
I would very much agree with that.
So
I think
first try.
I think pipe clips in general are just pipe clips in general are just quite strange. I feel.
Yes, indeed. I think that we still don't really have them figured out just yet. There's, I remember a time where IP clip was kind of in the same boat, where like we kind of understood what it was about, and we understood that standing in a particular place made it work, but we didn't really know all of the little intricate details. Whereas now, I think that even 1.2 runners who are very intimately involved with that particular clip, that particular clip know a little bit more of the details and are able to get it more consistently. But that one is still kind of a mystery. But then again, Stravos getting it on the first try, making it look very easy, so I could be wrong about that.
I think one thing to note about Stravos actually is I don't know if he still does this, but most of his any percent runs where he's on bad pace, he will do festival percent. So he's very well versed with the sewer clip as opposed to most people, I would say.
That is a good point, actually, and the festival by extension.
I've seen him do a back. I think it was a backflip into a spin pound and go through the wall, which was
oh my goodness.
very interesting.
And Stravos does have the festival percent world record, very prestigious title, if you ask me.
I actually remember when that category was made.
The memery, I imagine.
People didn't want to run any percent because it was too long. Bayleef going the sewer wall.
Only a couple tries there.
It's not too bad. I think it was still faster than taking the scenic route.
Yes, we have a leeway of about 17 seconds in this particular route before the sewer clip becomes slower than just taking the sewers through.
Stravos being done with the festival. He's having a very solid run actually.
I have not seen anything go wrong except for that one bonk in Wooded.
I was going to say that one bonk is the only notable thing that has gone wrong. He got through the pyramid door very fast, which I know it is 1.0, but as you mentioned before, he has had some run-ins with it. But I don't think anything has really gone. I've seen like maybe a bit of sloppy movement here and there, but it's nothing. Definitely nothing major. I'd be hard pressed to say it was even really a deal at all. Just very solid play throughout.
Yes, I can confirm. And I'm looking at my splits actually for the Metro exit, and Stravos is a solid minute and 10 seconds leaving Metro from my 1.2 PB, which is like incredible pace. Very, very good.
I mean,
even FMS taken into consideration, though, that's
163x pace. Is that the mark?
It has to be something like that. I mean, I believe his record is a 1:6:20 as well. So
yeah, I mean, we don't know what he said. He got third try snow clip in his PB.
That's true. So there could be some time to make up here still.
I'm going because your time is a 1:17:46, I believe. Is that correct?
1:17:48. Yeah.
48. So minus 110, that'd be a 1:16:38 pace anyway.
Indeed, and that's not taking into consideration just the time that Stravos probably saves over me in the later kingdoms, being any percent, and he's probably got close to the best times in those kingdoms as well. Now, as we're approaching snow, I'm actually noticing that Stravos is going for some interesting outside movement. Probably not what I would recommend to get into Shiveria, and just maybe a little bit of issues coming up the parasol there, but again, very, very minor stuff.
He did go for the moon clip there.
He did there where
unfortunately he's going for a backflip here. I've never seen anyone do this with a backflip.
Me neither, actually. And that could be why he has so much trouble with this particular clip. Oh, but he gets it there.
Not too bad.
And into the loading zone.
I've not seen it. That's interesting. We should ask him about that. But yeah, I think he might have got that moon clip if he'd thrown his cap a little later. I think he panicked a little bit.
I think so
panicked,
too.
But just, I think that's the lack of familiarity. I think he mentioned before he hasn't put much time into it, learning that clip. So Stravos is going to be doing Bound Bowl, which is honestly the hardest boss of the run.
Absolutely.
So do you have any predictions on Stravos' time?
It's kind of hard to say. I don't know if I've seen Stravos do Bound Bowl before, so this could go one of two ways, really. I've noticed that even some of the top seasoned any percent 1.0 runners, they do everything else in World Peace fantastically, and then they get to the Bound Bowl, and it's like a minute 5. So this could really go either way. I'm gonna shoot right in the middle just for safety's sake. I'm gonna give Stravos a 56.
Let's say 53.
Ooh,
Based on, really, I have faith.
Really banking on him.
Yeah, I think if he's really putting the time in, I mean, he's
obviously practicing. And it looks like he's bounding in all the right places. Maybe not the most optimal jumps, but he does know where to land, and that's part of the battle, I think, is knowing where to bound and where to avoid as well. Especially that last corner that he just went around, that speed bump is probably one of the one big time killers in the run. He getting a 17:94 on that lap, which is about a second slower than like optimal pace. So again, that kind of factors in that he does know what he's doing, just needs to fine tune it a little bit. Also, Bayleef clipping into the wall very, very quickly there.
Oh, that end was very unfortunate. He had to slow down quite a bit there, but getting a 55.91 which isn't
bad at all.
It's not a bad time at all.
Yeah, things can definitely go worse.
Now, Bayleef's Bound Ball.
Yes, Bayleef is he's one of the kings of Bound Ball for sure. Consistent 52s.
Is actually how I learned. I watched his VOD to learn Bound Ball, so I'm gonna give him the 52.
Yes, I'd be very surprised if he got anything else, actually.
I have mad respect for his Bound Ball skill.
And, you know, whoever wins the Bound Ball race wins the entire tournament, so... a lot is hanging on this race right now.
Make sure you put a little asterisk there.
Yeah.
Not actually true.
Read the fine print, ladies and... Alright, and Stravos being the 1.0 runner that he is, I imagine... There's no dram. Oh, yes. I think Commentators curse just happened. We just saw a little bit of spaghetti in that very first lap there by Bayleef. So maybe crushing the dreams of a 52, but we'll see.
I have too much power.
We both do in this commentator seat. Everything we say, just the opposite happens.
Right. Stravos not getting the first bite, unfortunately. It does get the second, so it's not too bad. Yeah. So fishing, as far as we're aware, is pretty much random.
Yes, and from what I've seen, like even in this tournament, actually, there's a lot of proof that getting a first bite is a common occurrence, which I think is part of why it's in the route to begin with. It's also just in the way. But, you know, there have been occurrences in some very good paced runs in the past in this category where, you know, we're waiting on the 8th bite or the 7th bite.
Worth mentioning two things. Bayleef actually still getting a very low 54. Even with the bad first lap, he got 54.03.
Indeed, pulling it out really fast there.
Another thing to note, Stravos actually did not go for Snowdram.
I was going to mention that too, actually. Probably just opting for safe strats. These racers do not know their pace comparatively to each other. Is one thing that I want to point out here. The stream is delayed a certain amount of time so that there's no method of cheating in things like bingo. So that's kind of a standard across the board here. So they don't actually know how far away from each other they are. They can only guess. And so Stravos going for the safe stuff just to be sure.
I imagine it's also factoring in the fact that unlike any percent, I believe Dram saves 8 seconds in any percent.
Something along those lines, yeah.
But in World Peace, it actually only saves 2.
Yes. The very high risk, low reward situation there.
So, unless you're very confident with that jump, which, I mean, there are a few people who are. So I wouldn't blame them for going for it if they basically are consistent. No reason not to. But unless you're consistent, it just really isn't worth it.
Yeah, there's no reliancy on RNG for that trick at all. There's definitely a possibility that you can make it consistent. In fact, I've done it quite a few times in just like some no resets of World Peace myself, and I've been able to manage it just fine. So there is consistency there, but it doesn't make it any less risky, really.
Stravos actually dropping the Gushin onto the higher platform to get more height, and he actually wants to plop the Gushin down on the rail here.
That's right, as close as you can get anyway without making...
Yeah, because if you actually pick up a story moon, anything in the general vicinity will despawn if it's close enough.
Yes, and this is a strategy we've been using in Darker Side for a while, actually, to maintain the Gushin in order to get us around the kingdom a little bit faster. But this particular new route actually came about from you, Timpani. You were the one who kind of thought about this. Do you want to run us through the process of that new route, actually?
I can't take all the credit. I think the thing that originally sparked the discussion was I mentioned how Dory, the purple Dory, with the moon underneath it, was just right next to the hot spring as we passed it. And I felt that the ground pound moon, what the waves left behind, has like a cutscene attached to it, and it felt very slow when we could literally just grab a moon that was flowing there. Because obviously those are going to be the fastest moons in general, just ones that are right out in the open to just be picked up.
Yeah, and this really goes into, like, again, cutting out the slowest of the any percent moons And any moon that has a cutscene associated with it is obviously going to be quite a bit slower.
But then Neo actually pointed out Captain Toad, which was obviously it doesn't seem like it's a slow moon, but talking to Toad and waiting for him to hand it over, it does add up.
Indeed, just the talking, and it's our first visit with Captain Toad in this run. I'm not sure if many people are aware, but Captain Toad actually has a longer dialogue box the first time you speak to him because he kind of introduces himself.
Right.
Any reoccurring Captain Toad visit is a touch faster as a result.
I believe I remember seeing a while back, they were looking at Metro Captain Toad in any percent. This was like BTT level things, though, which is like the best theoretical time. They were looking at maybe doing it there, which then they mentioned that would cause the Snow Captain Toad to be faster, and it was... I don't think anything actually ever came out of that in the end, but I remember reading it there, which I thought was quite interesting.
I remember seeing that too. And I'm not sure if maybe they just deduced that it was slower or that it wasn't very viable. But yes, I do recall that being a thing as well, and actually being able to save time in snow just because Captain Toad is being rerouted in somewhere else.
Yes.
Kind of interesting thing.
So Stravos starting Mollusk. The only thing I do not like about this boss is when he decides to slightly move left. Or right. And just ever so slightly veers out of your water range. Other than that, it's a pretty straightforward fight.
Is that like right at this phase here when Stravos is approaching the hot springs?
No, the very first phase where he has lava on his head.
Yes.
You just kind of scoot out of your way slightly.
That's right. You kind of have to like be prepared for him to do that a little bit.
Stravos getting the boss whip there, I believe. Yep.
No problems there.
So there is actually a slightly faster way of dealing with the mollusk when he... Which I actually haven't said his full name, I apologize. That would be Brigadier Mollusk Lancier III, Dauphin of Babylane.
Yes, that is the guy.
But there is a slightly faster way of dealing with him when he clips, and you can actually eject from the Gushion and roll across the hot spring and ground pound. Or even spin pound if you're feeling up to it enough.
Yes, if you're ferocious.
But Stravos opting for the safe strat of just staying in the Gushion and stunning him again, which is a strat I actually do as well.
Yeah, I can confirm I do that as well. I think we're losing about like a second at most by doing it that way, but it's definitely the safer way because the Gushion's water actually stuns him in place. Whereas if you miss the ground pound trying to do that roll strat, he's just going to keep going, and you're going to have to find a new Gushion, and you're going to lose a lot more time than just a second. So
I think, as far as I know, there's only one person I've seen doing it actively in runs, and that's Kerbis.
Kerbis, yeah.
I don't think I've seen anyone else actually doing it.
Kind of his trademark, I would say. And I mean, he has to live up to the reputation of having a Brigadier Mollusk Lancer III, Dauphin of Babylane emote in his collection. So. But yeah, Stravos making that fight look easy. And he's on to Luncheon Kingdom, which is another vastly different kingdom from the any percent route.
Worth mentioning, I think Bayleef having a more solid start to this fight actually as well. So I'm not going... I'm just going to let the fight happen this time. Yeah, I think it looks good. So one thing to know actually about this boss, if you don't let him move, I've learned this recently, if you don't let him move after hitting him, when he gets to Hot Spring, he actually doesn't register as being at the Hot Spring. He thinks he's still at the lighthouse, so he will actually... I think he clips through, but he keeps going.
Oh, yes.
All the way back to the lighthouse, which is a very big time loss. So you actually have to let him move before you...
That's when he does his little, like, nudge over, right?
Yeah, like, he'll kind of... You'll hit him, and then he'll kind of move a bit. You have to let him move.
Right.
Otherwise, he gets confused, and that's no fun.
Depending on where you're standing, too, he moves in a particular direction. I actually like to push him away from the hot spring because
he will go straight. Yeah,
he'll go straight through and he'll stop kind of like right where the hot spring ends. Whereas if you are farther away from the hot spring and you push him into it for that second hit, he'll actually like go out towards the water a little bit more, and it actually makes that last hit a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. I've noticed that myself. To Stravos in luncheon, dealing with Spewit, pretty much standard, as you would expect. The Spewit fight doesn't really change much from Wooded. The arena changes, but due to the way we fight Spewit in speedruns, it just doesn't really make any difference whatsoever.
Yeah, we don't even really care about the arena itself at all. We don't even let him move at all, so... But this particular section of movement can be particularly, I wouldn't say risky, I wouldn't even say difficult, it's just kind of awkward, in my opinion. Basically everything after Spewit coming in towards this cheesed moon here. There is a sewer clip available on 1.0, but the setup for it is so bizarre and so risky that it's not worth it.
Clip.
Oh, did I say sewer clip?
Yeah. So yeah, there is a clip that you can do, which involves you getting golden turnip 1, which is the turnip that's below the box moon that Stravos just got. You get 2 turnips and you chuck one out, and then you chuck the moon turnip, the golden one, into the pot, and then you throw. You have to like spin pound to get speed and throw the turnip over to the other side. It's very awkward and it does not save much time at all.
Yes, it's another one of those situations where, you know, a trick in any percent saves a big handful of time. You do the same trick in World Peace and you save 2 seconds.
Yes, mainly because we have to use a different turnip, which is just more awkwardly placed, because the turnip we use for turnip clip in 80% is next to a moon that's fast enough for any percent, but is not here.
Yeah, and you don't have to throw it over the crag or a giant pool of lava or anything like that. It's kind of convenient right next to the area that you need to use, so much less risky.
Stravos having some nice movement for that section. Didn't really see anything go wrong there, which, I mean, is pretty much the story of his run right now.
Yeah, again, maybe just like a couple of bonks here and there, some like less than optimal movement in like 1 or 2 places, but he's not making major mistakes at all. Still on very good pace.
I think to note there, Bayleef actually getting the triple jump off the stake, which is quite precise.
It is indeed. You can actually follow that up with a cap vault on that stair portion. I've only been able to do it a handful of times, but usually if you do some sort of like backflip or a cap return jump, you're able to get up those stairs just fine as well.
I should try that. I did not know that. The cap vault, I mean.
Yeah, it kind of involves like as soon as the triple jump launches, you just throw your cap and like hold back on the triple stick, and sometimes you'll actually vault up over.
Stravos actually doing one of my least favorite jumps in the game just there.
Indeed, not my favorite either.
Needing to get a triple, doing a triple and needing momentum and a bit of vectoring to make it across the gap without Cappy, because Cappy is still in the scarecrow from the timer challenge. It's failing that jump is a death, basically.
Yes, and probably the end of the run as well.
Yeah, because you get put right back at the Odyssey, so you're in a very awkward position because you have to actually make your way over from the bottom level as opposed to being on the top. It's quite a time loss.
Yeah, definitely been the killer of my runs in the past. And then you follow it up also with a particularly weird roll across the polygonal rock wall. I'm not really sure what you would call that exactly, but the movement there is just very awkward, and sometimes you can just like end up rolling right off the cliff or something. It's a very treacherous area.
This is also what Bayleef's doing here, one of my least favorite movements in Luncheon, because this has actually killed a few of my runs lately.
Yeah, and if you fall down there, I think there's one spot on the wall that kind of can save you, but you're more or less toast.
You can survive. It's just very awkward, and if you miss the spot, you're dead.
Yeah, you're toast.
Stravos doing the quick 3 bounce into the cannon. One thing I actually cannot seem to consistently get.
I need to practice it for myself as well, because it looks cool as well.
Yeah, and it's definitely faster.
Gotta be faster, yeah. Any of those jumps, and I think some of these 1.0 so doing the first couple of phases of this Cookatiel fight with dash jumps instead of regular jumps. But the hitboxes make it so weird that like sometimes you'll just slide right off Cookatiel's face and into the stew below. So it's a very risky thing to go for, but sometimes you can pull it off.
Clean first and second phase from Stravos. This boss is...
What a delight.
It's my favorite boss, and I'm saying that sincerely. But I hate the hitboxes of this boss.
Yes. I love the mechanics of it. I enjoy that it allows you to skip to the next phase of the fight by, manipulating mechanic. Like, only the Brutals really do that.
Yeah.
There are no other like major bosses in the game that allow you to kind of break the sequence like that, which I appreciate. But man, the hitboxes are just so bad.
Stravos came for it just fine. No falls, which is always really nice.
I wasn't sure if that was a 4 bounce on the last phase, but
I did not see, but I know that regardless of whether it was or not, it was definitely clean. A 4 bounce over a 3 bounce doesn't lose too much time, as opposed to just falling through one of his spews.
Yes, which can be a very common occurrence. And with that, Stravos is out of luncheon. Achieving a sub-hour luncheon actually is very, very commendable.
I actually do not know what my splits are like here, but I am very curious. He's actually, let's see, a solid minute ahead of my luncheon exit. Yeah. A minute and 15, I think. No, more than that actually. It's probably more closer to a minute and 20.
Yeah, it's about the same for me, so that's craziness.
Very solid pace.
And again, factoring in FMS and the sewer clip, we're talking about, I would say about 35 to 40 seconds of time save, but he's still got about 20 seconds over that as well. So, just very solid movement everywhere here.
Well, I like that simultaneous loading transition.
Indeed, yeah. Bayleef approaching the Cookatiel just as Stravos is making his way up to the most difficult boss fight in the game.
Not only the most difficult, but the most fun.
Yes. There's so much to do. And just like Cookatiel, there's so many ways to speed it up. There isn't.
Oh, really missing the spew stream there, unfortunately.
And again, kind of showing why the hitboxes on this boss are absolutely ridiculous, because it didn't look like he was going to get that hit, but he did. And then in other situations, you can like kind of hop around Cookatiel's face for 5 or 6 bounces and not hit Cookatiel at all.
He's a fun guy. There is one thing you can do in this dragon fight. Unfortunately, neither of these races can do it being on 1.0. But you can spawn a Captain Toad to say hello.
Yes, and that strategy actually saves 20 minutes. They're not able to pull that off.
Yes, unfortunately, despite what the 1.0 runners will tell you, even though the clips are harder on 1.2, you can save 20 whole minutes.
Just by activating a 200 coin Captain Toad. In this level, Stravos actually just rolling over the point where Captain Toad appears. I like to dance with Captain Toad during this party because there's nothing else to do.
But, obviously, all memery aside, Stravos just basically having a standard rune fight. Nothing to really say. You can't really save much time here. You can optimize this only so much.
Yeah, it basically comes down to this ground pound here as optimally as you can get it, and like the movement to the boss basically, and otherwise it's all pretty scripted.
I will mention though, he did spin pound there, I believe, on the 3rd phase. I believe I have seen some people do that.
And I mean, it makes sense. I feel like you have more control over the actual pace of your ground pound if you do it with a spin, because you kind of have to. What's the word I'm looking for here? You have to anticipate a regular ground pound and like the half second it takes for Mario to do his little somersault.
Yes. There is also the one other thing you can do is if you actually if you throw Cappy onto a key and get between another key, or get like a key between you and Cappy, he will actually grab it on the return as well.
That's right. You can kind of cancel out having to throw Cappy a certain amount of times.
Yeah, so that is a minor time save that you can do. But outside of like little tiny optimizations, like there's really not much you can speed up this kingdom with, other than obviously your entry movement as well.
Indeed, yeah. You can see Bayleef ground pounding on the spot where Captain Toad, and nobody's home.
Unfortunate. I guess that's because we didn't talk to him in Seaside.
I mean, yeah, he's probably angry at us, to be honest. Yeah, Mario claims to be an ambassador and is achieving world peace, but he certainly doesn't like to talk to the citizens of the world. Very interesting guy.
So, one thing to note about the beginning of Bowser's, as this is now any % for the rest of the run, there is a choice you can make in Bowser's. You can get the box moon, which is under... Well, it's like a... behind a wall after the brutal fights, or you can get a moon right here at the start by capturing a bird, or throwing your cap out and capturing a bird after dropping down to grab a moon. They are both around the same speed. It's pretty much preference. I believe I keep hearing back and forth on this one. I heard that the bird moon was slightly faster, but then I heard that the box moon was faster if you did very optimal movement.
Yeah, and so from what I've heard, that's the story that I've heard from Ekwan, who is arguably one of the most optimal runners in the game at this current moment. He says that if you were to do the second moon with a triple jump into breaking the top right box immediately, that would be the most optimal thing. But considering it keeps going back and forth, we have to be talking about like less than half a second. So, yeah. Like, really, it comes down to personal preference for this particular section of the game.
I personally am a bird boy, so I will get the bird moon. And I would hope that you are the same, but I do not know for sure.
I am not yet a bird boy. I mean, you would think so.
Yeah.
You would think so, but contrary to popular belief, when it comes to boxes behind crates, I just can't help myself.
Well, you know, I can't shame you for that. It is a very tempting moon. It's just sitting there after all.
And I also kind of have like a sentimental attachment. In my very early experiences with this game, the movement after that moon would cause a lot of game overs and a lot of resets, where I feel like I finally mastered it now and I don't want to take something out that I've finally gotten the hang of. So
I can understand that.
Yeah, totally. And especially if it's that close, it's down to personal preference, right?
Yeah, I feel like you've just put so much time into this point. So Stravos doing Harry at first, which automatically disappoints me.
I mean, this race is basically over now because of that choice.
But, looks like Bayleef's not going to be doing the bird moon either. So box moon for both, I believe.
Indeed. It's kind of funny that there are these like moments in Bowser's Kingdom specifically where like the community is torn on something that doesn't really save or lose any time. Of course, the one being the moon choice and the other one being whether you Harry or Topper first.
I will mention Stravos doing the scary Harriet strat. I didn't see if he actually went into first person, but he did throw his hat out, so I'm going to assume he did.
Or maybe he's got a setup-less variety, which would be even scarier.
Which, I mean, would almost make no sense even, because you're waiting anyway. So maybe that would make him an actual madman. But
you've heard it here first, everybody.
Missing Topper, but getting a very quick recovery there, which is nice.
Yeah, his where he ends up flying off is actually pretty predictable. So if you miss it, as long as you know which hat is the one.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it is very easy to lose it, however. But fortunately, not happening now.
Indeed. Still a very, very respectable run and a sizable lead. Bayleef approaching this shards movement here, which is a very satisfying part.
I want to say definitely not to discount Bayleef's run, though, because despite some very significant mistakes in Cloud and other areas, he's still holding up very well, honestly.
I would say so, too, yeah. Definitely on incredible pace for both of these runners, but that's just kind of the name of the game, I think, at this point in the tournament. We've got the top-tier runners in this category facing off against each other.
Stravos almost missed that moon. Almost walked right past it.
Ooh, yep, that's costly and like not dangerous, but just like costly.
It's very upsetting when it happens.
Most certainly, it's just one of those triggering moments, kind of like when you you early capture the bullet bill when you're doing the dram strat in sand. You know, it's like nothing bad necessarily happened, except you are going to lose time for something stupid.
The thing I would compare that specific moment to is when you go into the pyramid and you enter the pipe and then walk back out the pipe because you're trying to jump over the blocks.
Yes.
That's a very obnoxious pipe. But Bayleef also doing Harriet first, and now I just don't know what to think anymore.
This race could go either way now. It's just...
Now the question is, will Stravos go for Harriet first? I believe that he is probably... I would assume so. He's very... It just seems like a Stravos thing. I imagine he does it. Because I know Chaos does it, and I think Chaos said that him and Strav do basically the same things. So
I think you're right.
I would assume that he would go for it. It looks like he's going for it.
I don't know very many any percent runners anymore that don't do the Harriet third anymore, because we're talking about like a second and a half of time save here.
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, it's just about as easy to pull off. You just have to learn how to do it.
Yeah, it's all positioning and then just immediate dive into that spin pound there, which is very nice.
Strat making it look really easy.
I need to practice that myself. I've heard it's not too bad, and it does look very cool.
Yes, can confirm that for sure. I think that's the only Robo Brute strat that I'm currently not doing as well. The Harriet third. Goryu is something that I've picked up recently, just hitting topper from the side. Rather than doing the small ant strategy where you do the ground pound after returning.
Sorry, I was for some reason very invested in the topper animation.
Just caught in a trance. I think they both actually that second phase of the fight there. I think Topper got away from both of them.
Yeah. So Stravos is on a very, very good pace right now. Like,
it's kind of scary, actually. We're looking at like a very low 15 at this point.
It could, yeah, he could record again right now. I believe.
I think you might be right. It all depends on the fade out here. I know Stravos's moon gold is like sub 520.
Yeah, so that's, I mean,
incredibly good.
It's very doable for him, provided he just has a good moon. But yeah, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna let it happen.
Yes, don't let the commentators ruin the potential here. It's definitely been known to happen in the past.
So this, I mean, this could be very hype.
We could see 2 world records happen in this tournament. We saw Little Curbs do it,
and it's crazy because it's by a very significant margin too. It's the last record was a 1:17.05.
That's right.
And now the record's a 1:16.20. Oh, I've forgotten it again.
16. I think he said 16:23, and
yeah, so
Odyssey held the record for a couple days as well. This world piece again, it's like very popular right now, and as a result, the world record is coming down rather significantly because all of these very prestigious any percent runners are taking a stab at it and optimizing it in ways that were just not possible before. And yeah, the world record for the legacy portion has actually come down at least 2.5 minutes just in the last like 3 weeks.
I'm curious if that jump with he jumped again there with the rocket fire. I'm curious if that's just faster than just running.
And he like vectored the jump as he was approaching the cave skip. That's what I do actually. I'm not sure if it is faster, but it makes sense.
I mean, I would assume it would be because you're still going at the same speed in the air.
That's right.
But vectoring obviously would make you faster, so it makes sense. I've just never thought about it.
Now Bayleef just finishing up the Robo Brood fight here. I don't think he had any mistakes. Rather clean.
Oh, here comes the spin. This is the strat. I love this strat from Strav. Just the spin throw, hat catch. And I want to learn that just because it looks very, very cool.
Yeah, just like the big hat spinning around as you approach Bowser.
are now going into first person to obviously make Bowser speed up by 10,000%.
That's right. Another whole 20 minutes being saved right now.
So I've heard from Lim a few times that on hat catch, like on capture of Bowser, it's 2 minutes with a good escape.
Oh, from like when you the moment you capture Bowser.
Yeah, I believe so. The moment you capture. Yeah, I believe it's the moment you capture Bowser.
That's kind of funny. The moment that I've used is the time that you enter the church is just under 4 minutes. If you do everything optimally after that.
Right.
But you know, kind of in the same ballpark. We have, I think, approached the final hard part of this fight has got to be the Robo Brutal fight, especially if you're going for some Harriet third options. The rest of this is rather easy as long as you don't choke. The only problem with the choke, the penalty is huge, just about anywhere.
Unfortunately, looks like it might be. Yeah, it's going to be a miss on the 115, but very, very reasonable world record pace right now.
Indeed.
Like, extremely reasonable. It's kind of scary, actually.
Yeah, me and Rhea should be Monka Giga right now, because assuming Stravos pulls this out cleanly, we're going to be, one of us is going to be facing him in the next round, and if he's pulling out world records like it's nothing, then, you know, GG's, boys.
Also worth mentioning, Stravos has gained a reputation for winning tourneys.
Yes, indeed, and
So
I think like
that's something.
It's kind of weird because he going for the hard stuff and kind of maybe not doing so well in regular runs as a result. But when it comes to races, he just like dominates completely.
It's very. I mean, maybe he needs to race more often in Innocent.
That must be it. You know, he must do well under pressure or something.
To be fair, I mean, it makes sense. I've seen Oddme. When he was in the Any Percent tournament, he PB'd a lot. I think it helps to be forced sometimes to just not reset.
It's true, and you really, you know, sometimes you overestimate the time loss that you're taking from a mistake, and you just kind of end it without seeing how the rest of it could save you, you know. So and now Stravos here in the pillar room, and he gets the first pillar fast. He was approaching this room at 1:15.10. This has the opportunity to be a very, very low 1:16.
So, finishing up this last pillar, it looking like there's nothing really.
A couple fireballs there, but
looking like nothing can really go wrong at this. Yeah, so it's definitely a record.
Here live, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, GSA tournament world record. Not only the best race time, but the best overall time in this category, a 1:16.07.
Madness.
He's done it again.
I mean, I have to say, though, that run was very... I do not remember... I mean, maybe the moon clip in snow could have saved a few seconds, because he didn't get it first try downstairs, but there was not... The bonkin would... The bonkin would... When we have to talk about a bonk as something that went wrong, you know it's a solid run, because that's ridiculous.
And, you know, even like he missed 2 fireballs on that last pillar.
Yes.
When that's among some of the worst mistakes that happened in a run, then you know you've got something good here. And I think Stravos has proven that with a very, 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 very good run, a 1:15 is possible in this category. But we are talking about something really phenomenal here, like a very, very solid effort.
I'm very I'm very impressed by that. That's. I mean, how can you not be? It's the record now.
Indeed.
I'm kind of hoping that. Oh well,
a little psychedelic going on in Bayleef chat there.
So the Bayleef's still in escape at the moment.
Yeah, Bayleef making his way to the 2D section here.
Ooh.
And he pulls the 2D skip just fine.
Yeah.
And it is kind of hard to run against a run that is the new world record. So major credit to Bayleef for pulling this out as well. Not very many mistakes on his part either. Just a couple of missed jumps that didn't lose very much time. We're still going to see probably a very low 119, potentially if he pulls out a really good pillar room, a high 118.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's definitely if he entered a 118.05. I've had 54 pillars before, so it is possible.
Indeed, yeah.
Those shots look pretty good. I can't tell actually. I don't think he didn't invest in the early pillar though.
Yeah, I don't think he actually threw all of his fireballs to hit there, but he is gonna try for the backup there.
Yeah, I think that should be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, he got the set.
But it's gonna probably be a 1 now. Maybe. Hard.
Perhaps only slightly.
Yeah. Still though, 119. It's not a bad time at all.
Not at all. As he breaks open this block, yeah, we're going to be looking at a very low. Toad applauding the efforts of both of these racers. Very excited about the outcome of this race. 119.06 for Bayleef. Very solid effort, very good finishing time. Just not quite enough to beat a now improved world record holder. That is Stravos here.
I mean, Stravos is actually here now.
Hey, yeah.
So, how do you feel about your run?
I did not expect that.
I can honestly say, I mentioned this before you were here. If I have to note a bonk as something that went wrong in your run, it's probably a good indicator that your run was very solid.
Yeah, I think the worst mistake I had was when I entered snow. I thought I was in day snow already and fell off the side instead of going. I couldn't figure it out. And then I was like, oh no, this is wrong. I'll do any percent. Wait, no, I don't go to Toad. Wait.
That's right. I did kind of notice that something was going on there. I just thought it was a little bit weird, but
yeah, I was watching the stream. I think at that time I wanted to hear your guys' reactions to something that happened before, and I was more concerned about the stream.
Actually, I did mention this, mentioning snow. You backflip for snow downstairs clip.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, I like it. I like that.
I've never seen anyone actually do that before. Typically, people get as close to the wall and just immediately roll cancel.
Yeah, why I like to do it is because it gets me behind the slope that is used to clip, so it makes it easier for me to time things. You can do it while on top of the slope, but if you're behind it, then I personally feel like it's easier. I don't know if it actually is, but it's what I like to do.
And I mean, it obviously works for you.
Yeah, it didn't take very long at all to get through. I did see you attempt the moon clip there. Threw your cap a little bit early.
Yeah, I think I backflipped a little early actually, because I tried to delay my cap throw as long as I thought I could, and it was still it wasn't good. So I think I need to backflip later. I'm still not used to doing that.
So, how are you feeling about 115?
It's possible.
But how are you feeling about it?
I only need 8 more seconds. That's learning gate skip and snow moon clip right there. That makes it pretty easy in my opinion. If I was to get a run like this again, plus those things.
Because everything you did well, you did very well. You didn't really. I did not see it. I did see. I think maybe a couple of sloppy bits here and there, like entering City Hall. You kind of messed around the door a little bit, but it wasn't like a bonk or anything. It was just minor stuff.
Yeah, I think I kept best pace ever for World Peace until I don't even know, maybe Snow.
Honestly,
maybe it kept being best pace, because I was ahead of my PB, which was the world record for the whole run. At one point, I was 10 seconds ahead. Then it went back to only 4, and then out of Luncheon, I double golded Luncheon because I have 2 splits for Luncheon because I'm that kind of person. I double golded. and ended up being 20 seconds ahead in Ruined.
Incredible.
So
very, very
if I
solid.
played really well, that run could have gotten a 115 if I just played really well for Bowser's and Moon, but I didn't quite do well enough.
But I mean, a world record is a world record.
Yeah.
And we have with us here as well Bayleef, not being able to close it out again here just because it's kind of hard to run against a world record. But how did you feel the run went, Bayleef?
Dumpster fire. It was fine until I entered wooded, and then it kind of just went downhill.
Well,
messed up the beginning movement. Bonked at the very start on that little waterfall.
Yes.
I almost died to tower skip somehow.
Yes, that was
I don't know how I got that angle on that dive.
Must have just been a value dive or something.
Probably. He's probably just kind of hacked my controller or something.
But to me, even with those mistakes, still a 119 is a low 119 as well. It's not bad at all.
Let's see. Sewer. I lost. Which time did I lose on sewer? So without that, you cut out a moon and Bowser's was. I was so mad at Bowser's. I tried. I was practicing the quick strats, and I got it in practice 5 times. I was like, okay, I can do this in the run, and then I took damage, and then it just kind of. I just wanted to turn the game off at that point, but I just finished out the run. Let's see. Where was it? Scooter? No, the sewer clip. So my gold is a 109 there, and I lost 35 seconds to my gold.
Ooh, that was in day metro?
With one less moon.
I did mention that your backup for Scoop Clip was very fast.
I was just kind of like, really? I thought I went through the first time, but I kind of just like, a lot of it just came down to not even touching the route ever for Metro and mostly post game. It's been so long, just don't remember any of it.
A little bit of unfamiliarity.
And then Lost, I went into like darker side for some reason.
Yeah, we did notice that
after the Metro, or after the Klepto. I was like, wait a minute. Okay, I'm just gonna make this work, I guess.
But you did also, when you mentioned about not playing the route for a while, I did notice you were doing the old sand route as well.
Yeah, I have no idea what the new sand route is, so I haven't even seen anyone do it, so I didn't want to do it.
It did provide us a kind of a good comparison though, because you and Stravos were extremely close, maybe within like 3 or 4 seconds entering sand. You both pulled off your routes very cleanly. Stravos and you actually, I think Bayleef, you both got the clip on the first try, if I recall.
Yes.
And then of course, just like you could see the time difference coming out the other end, basically. And Stravos had maybe 6 or 7 seconds ahead of you, just from the new route and nothing else alone, because you guys were basically perfect in your execution through sand. So very interesting to see that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, I think that was a very, very solid showing. I think we're going to see a lot of very close races throughout this quarterfinals. Thank you guys so much for participating, and good luck, Stravos, in the next round.
Thank you.
GG, Stravos.
GG's.
And I believe that's going to be it from us at GSA for the day. Thanks, Timpani, for accompanying me on commentary.
That was a lot of fun.
And hopefully we get a couple more opportunities in the future. This tournament is going to be going on until about the end of the month. So some more world peace action coming at you. But for the day, that's going to be it from us. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next time.